Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are listening from. It is, of course, the Podium Podcast back with another episode of the 2025 Chinese Grand Prix driver ranking. I think we're calling it driver rankings. We're sticking with that name. It's got a good ring to it. But driver rankings, of course, you know the drill by now. We're going to go through all 20 drivers, see how well they've done over what was a quite action-packed sprint weekend, the first of 25. And yeah, of course, rank them from 1 to 10. We'll start from the bottom, work our way up the grid. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start off with Sauber, of course. Nico Hulkenberg and Bortoletto. Let's start off with Nico Hulkenberg first. Qualified in a solid P12. Finished P15. 4 out of 10. Not the best result for Nico Hulkenberg compared to his teammate. We'll get into that later. But mediocre qualifying session. I do believe that maybe Australia was just, it came down to expertise getting getting Hulkenberg to score points. I think he finished 6th actually. But regardless, it was a lackluster weekend for Hulkenberg. Didn't manage to score many points in the sprint as well. So really just a weekend that he can just gain more experience in that Sauber. It is only his second race in Sauber, but 4 out of 10, not the most what's the right word? I think this race probably showed where Sauber truly is in pace. Obviously Australia was probably more of a crazy weekend where you can try and jeopardize on certain circumstances, but 4 out of 10. Yeah, not the best, not much to talk about. Let's talk about his teammate though, Gabriel Bortoletto. Qualified P19, but finished P14. 5 out of 10. I'll give him 5 out of 10. Second race in Formula 1. Managed to beat his teammate in the race. He managed to, qualifying was a bit shocking, but when it came to it, he managed to beat his teammate. Yes, he did spin out on turn 1. However, if you look at it, and I've seen people talk about it, there might have been something wrong with Sauber's tyre prep situation. Both drivers were struggling with huge amounts of grip. I mean, unexpected levels of grip being lost around the track, or especially in the formation lap. When it came to turn 1, lap 1, sorry, it seemed that they were going to struggle because if your tyres aren't warmed up, it is very difficult to compete with the rest of your competition. But regardless, managed to beat his teammate P14. I think that representatively shows where that Sauber is, and I think they've got a lot to work on. Let's go for Williams next. Williams. Alex Albon, qualified P10, finished P7. 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 to match his points, which he got 8 points. Oh no, sorry, he got 6 points. Sorry, I'm looking at nearly ahead of him. Terrific weekend. Great. Managed to get some much needed points after Australia. So really continuing that strong level of form, which is great to see that Williams doesn't look too far off the pace compared to last year. Managed to get the upper hand against his teammate, which is obviously always a bonus. Gives him great levels of confidence going into the season, managing to score more points, a lot more points than your teammate, and more points than you ever did in 2024, and even possibly 2023 altogether, is really a good morale boost as well. But yeah, I mean, managed to navigate what was a difficult race in Australia and managed to keep his head up, get into Q3, and capitalize on certain, I suppose, mistakes. He managed to hold Behrman back in the Haas, which seemed was going to be quite difficult considering Behrman had a lot of pace. Williams made the one-stop work with Albon as well, which is really good to see. But yeah, I mean, terrific. I mean, I think he did drag the best out of his car. He was only, to be fair, 3 seconds off Antonelli, which in the grand scheme of things is not a lot. But P7, terrific. Let's move on to his teammate, though, Carlos Sainz. Qualified P15, finished P10. 5 out of 10 for the man who sports the 55 number. Difficult weekend. Not really Carlos Sainz-esque. this year has it because he's just seemed very lackluster. Not much to really gain out of this weekend. Qualified last in Q2, narrowly escaped Q1, and was just really not off the pace, but seemed to struggle in some areas that Albon seems to thrive in. This might be a case of getting just used to that Williams car. It is a difficult car to drive, perhaps. We don't know that for sure. But if you look at Latifi and Sargent, who in their single-seater junior years looked quite, what's the right word, not too far off the pace to go into that Williams and then just be blitzed by Albon is one thing. But considering that Carlos Sainz came into this team with a undermining expectation that he was going to not easily but comfortably outscore his teammate, to be now only 1 point, whilst I think his teammate's nearly on 15 points, which is really not what many had on their bucket list, I suppose, for the season. But it's only been 2 races, and Sainz has got plenty of time to get used to this car. But yeah, 5 out of 10. Not much to say about that. Racing Bulls now. Oh, this is going to be interesting. Yuki Tsunoda. Where is Yuki Tsunoda? Qualified P9. Finished 16th. Oh. I mean, Racing Bulls was difficult to mark anyway. I'll get onto that later. But I'm going to give Yuki Tsunoda a 6 out of 10 for his display in China. Qualifying, exceptional. Managed to get his car into Q3, did what he needed to do, exceeded the car's performance. But it seems that car has just got something that, not the car per se, but just the, I suppose, strategy Racing Bulls decided to do. Yes, I mean, a 2-stop was on the card straight away. However, if you see people around you, because they were running in the points for a long time, both Racing Bulls, they could have got a decent haul of points in China if they managed to stick well with what the others are doing. Maybe their tire deck was just too high, and that they had to be not forced to pit, but had to pit. But I mean, you look at it and you're thinking, God, they could have maximized so much out of this, but they managed to go for a 2-stop when everyone else around them went for a 1-stop with only 15 to 20 laps to go. It was going to be a huge ask for both drivers to go and score points. But to make matters worse, he then had probably the weirdest type of incident I think I've ever seen in Formula 1. Coming down the main straight, where he literally just was driving along and it seemed that his front wing just almost collapsed on him. I mean, people are looking into it. It might have been a bump. It might have been something like a little skid, little movement. But still, to be losing your front wing, it sums up an unfortunate weekend. I don't know if Racing Bulls managed to get a couple of points in the sprint. Did they? Yes. Tsunoda got 3 points in the sprint, which was, I mean, something to take. But they could have got so much more. They could have capitalized on so much more, which is a shame. However, that is the way Formula 1 crumbles. And, I mean, there's talks about him now moving to Red Bull. So that might be another video for another day. But let's talk about his teammate then. Isaac Hadjar, qualified P6, finished P11. Solid 7 out of 10 for Isaac Hadjar. A really good qualifying performance. I mean, P6 is exceptional in the Racing Bulls. Managed to really floor his teammate in that, and also Liam Lawson in that, which is just crazy to think. But come race again, same story for what Tsunoda experienced. Lack of grip, just everything, not lack of grip, what am I talking about? Poor strategy, losing out on so many points because they were running in the low points high, I mean, around that P7 to P10 mark for majority of the race before they pitted. But that is racing, and I think Racing Bulls have to look at themselves a little bit after China, but they will move on. Let's go for Haas next. Esteban Ocon qualified in P11, finished 5th. 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10 for Mr. Esteban Ocon in what is his second race for Haas. What a performance. Honestly, very underrated. Went underneath the radar. Yes, qualifying was a bit off there. Unfortunate not to get out of Q2. But still, this is what Racing Bulls failed to capitalize on. Managed to do the job on Sunday. Managed to get 10 points. 10 points, which is incredible, to be fair. But it was just, yeah. Yes, I know that 2 people above him got disqualified. But he was best of the rest in that sense because he, if you look at it, there's almost a 30-second gap between him and Verstappen in fourth. But regardless, managed to beat the Mercedes of Antonelli and managed to capitalize as much as he can with that car. He made some great moves, made it stick. Terrific job. He could not have done more. He managed to maximize the most out of his car. I would have given more, but if he got into Q3, I would have given him more. But yeah, it's just maybe that Haas does have some pace, but it is a long season, and it will be interesting to see how that midfield table shifts across the year. Let's go to his teammate, and it's the same story. Qualified P17, finished 8th, 8 out of 10 as well. Great job. Managed to make the one-stop work around Shanghai. Made some incredible moves going into the last, 14, I believe, after the long back straight. Made some moves. He knew what he had to do. He did it. He executed exceptionally well for a person that's only raced 4 Grand Prix. And he's managed to, put his car within touching distance of Albon and Antonelli in a Haas. Is a very, very solid weekend for Haas in general, who, they'll take this weekend with a pinch of salt considering Australia was a complete nightmare. And I said this myself, they looked like the worst car possible in Australia. They just didn't, maybe they had some sort of setup wrong because it was raining and they didn't know maybe to push more in qualifying or save some more in the race. But, it's just, they've done well in Shanghai. And I'd like to see how they do well in this triple header coming up next week. And if they do, then they could be on for a decent season. If they can manage to get these more flawless weekends in, then the possibilities are endless, as one might say. Oh, okay. Let's go on to who's next? Alpine. Pierre Gasly. Oh, sorry, that was my pen. Qualified where did he qualify? P16. Disqualified. Can't give him more than 5. Mid-ish weekend. The disqualification. We'll get onto Ferrari in a little bit. But really, really unfortunate. He was running. Actually, I don't think he was running in the points. So, it wouldn't have made that much of a difference. But regardless, yeah, unfortunate that he was disqualified after, I believe, weight infringement. But that's F1. It happens. It happened to Leclerc and Hamilton as well. But yeah, not much really to talk about Gasly. He managed to, he didn't even get a Q1. Managed to be his teammate. That's the only thing you can really say. But from this weekend, yeah, only 5 out of 10. It's just, that Alpine looks like the most middest car you can possibly imagine. Every time I talk about them in a podcast or a preview or a race review, it's always the same thing. They were close to the points but didn't manage to get points, or they were just doing okay. Because their lineup is questionable, but we'll see. 5 out of 10. I don't have much to talk about for him. Jack Doohan, on the other hand, qualified in P18, finished 13th. Oh, I don't know if I should give him a 5 or a 4. 5 or a 4, that is a good question. He didn't outqualify his teammate, however, he managed to finish in front of both Saubers. Tsunoda doesn't count because, he had to pit on 2 laps to go, so which kind of ruins anything. Okay, now I'll stick with 4. I'm being a bit harsh, but he has to be harsh because he's got no other choice but to be performing at the best level that he can over this. I mean, how long he's got, because it's looking okay, I guess, for Jack. Managed to finish P8. He managed to outqualify Bortoletto and Lawson. That is something, but I mean, he's still not thereabouts with the car. He just doesn't seem He doesn't seem comfortable. He just seems like he's just lacking that that spark that some rookies have. Some rookies may take time to really hone in on, but yeah, it's just 4 out of 10. Today was a day where he should have got a point. He should have done what Behrman or something like Hajar should have done, but still, yeah, pretty poor. Pretty poor. Let's go on to the top 5 now. Let's start with Aston Martin. Lance Stroll qualified P14, sorry, God. Finished 9th. I'm going to give him, 9 out of 10. Going to give Lance Stroll a 9 out of 10. Another very, 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 very interesting run from Lance Stroll. 2 race weekends now where he's actually put in a really solid performance. He's managed to execute. He's managed to go into a race. Not much talk about him. Not much talk. He's just there in the background. However, when he comes and puts his helmet on, he gets out there. He does what he needs to do, and he's just ecstatic in the car. He's just suited this car so much better than Fernando has, considering he's racing a 2-time world champion with nearly 20 years of experience. But you have to give credit to Stroll. Like him or hate him, he's managed to score points twice in the Aston Martin, which I'll say is around 5th or 6th fastest, and he's managed to make it work again. I am really, really interested to see how far he can make this run work, and I hope he does, because I mean, why not? He's actually doing well for once. He does have that talent. I mean, we saw it in 2020 and bits of 21. He does have that flash. He can have that flash for a split second of just absolute bliss, just pace. He knows what he's doing, but sometimes he can be lackluster, and he can make rookie errors and get too not rigid, but too what's the right word? I don't know what I'm saying, but too just clumsy in the car, which many drivers, I mean the best drivers, can not sort themselves out, but they can just pick themselves up and be more professional and accurate. But I think he does struggle with that. But this season he seemed to, make the most out of it. Maybe he's come in with a new philosophy or mentality, but something switched, and I'm here for it, 100 million %. His teammate, however, Fernando Alonso, qualified P14, DNF'd, 0 points again on the board. He didn't, how did he qualify P14? Oh, sorry, qualified P13, so he did out-qualify Stroll, however, DNF'd. Very unfortunate. I think his brakes caught on fire. Not much you could talk about. Don't think he scored a point in the sprint, whilst I think Stroll didn't. Stroll was just outside the points. But Stroll, even in the sprint, managed to beat Fernando by a decent amount. Within 19 laps, he managed to do it by 14 seconds. And Stroll was close to scoring a point because he held up Norris behind in the quickest car, which is interesting. But Fernando seems a little bit off it. Does this come with age? Possibly. Will he pick it up? Yes, I'm sure he will. I'm sure that by midway point we'll be saying that how the Fernando's come back and he's risen and he's ready for 26. But still, right now, I mean, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. His first season, maybe he needs to get adjusted to the car. Something might not be clicking his setup. It's only been 2 races, but he is getting outperformed by his teammates, and I believe his teammate has got what? 8 plus 2. He's got 10 points, Stroll, I believe, whilst Fernando is still yet to score a point in 25. Let's go on to now Mercedes. As you do, George Russell Qualified P2, finished P3. Really, really solid performance. 8 out of 10 for for George Russell. That qualifying lap was really impressive. Was a monster lap. I think he managed to improve his lap by 6/10 compared to his previous run in Q3. But Mercedes seemed like almost the second best team out there. Really impressive. Managed to drive a decent race. Yes, he managed to not screw up the start, but he had a bit of a poor start. But give it one more lap, and with Lando's brakes failing, he could have probably taken P2 and would have gone second in the championship as well. But he's on the same level of points as Max Verstappen. Hopefully he can keep this form up, because then it does put pressure on McLaren and Max to do well. But really, really solid drive. He is there or thereabouts. He's arguably the third quickest driver on the grid. And he is. He's going to be interesting to watch this season. If Mercedes can make an upgrade which is worth 1 or 2 more tenths, God, that would be, not even actually, I'll say a tenth. He will be in that. He will be in that fight for with McLaren for the win, and it'll be really interesting to see. But yeah, solid Chinese Grand Prix, 8 out of 10, and he's done the job. Antonelli qualified P8, which was okay, but finished P6. 7 out of 10. Yeah, decent. Another solid performance by Antonelli in his second race in Formula 1, in a track he hasn't been at. He's done well. Yes, Ocon managed to, get a P5, but still. Antonelli, P6, he hasn't put a foot wrong this weekend, actually. He's done alright. Sprint was okay. I think he managed to score he managed to score 2 points in the sprint. In P7, managed to hold off Lando behind, but yeah, he's done fairly well. He's hit the ground running, which is what we wanted to see. I did not want to see another talent which was just maybe a little bit too immature for Formula 1, but he's managed to take it face on, try and get the most out of the car. He's learning the car bit by bit as well, probably. So yeah, there's a lot of positive things to build upon, which is great to see, to be fair. Let's go to Red Bull now. Oh God, 2 different stories for Red Bull, isn't it? Max Verstappen qualified P4, finished P4, 7 out of 10. That car is the 4th quickest car, but he's still there or thereabouts. In the sprint, where did he finish? 3rd. He qualified, I think, 2nd as well in the sprint. So, decent weekend. He's 2nd in his championship still. He's only, I think, 8 or so points off Lando. But, yeah, he's managed, regardless of what car he's in, he will always be there or thereabouts, Max, compared to his teammate at least. But, really interesting to see him just not ponder along, but just coast along. He does his job, and he's just hoping someone out in front has a collision or a problem, which he can just swoop in and take some points, which is what he has to do now. He just has to hope and pray, put himself in some positions where he can go and take some points off someone. But he had he overtaking the Ferraris. He had some sort of pace at the end of the race. I don't know if he was conserving tires or I don't know what was going on, but he had some sort of pace. He was there-ish, and yeah, China and Japan, I'll probably say, are like 2 very unique circuits. Same with Australia. So I think come Bahrain is where we'll really find out who's got the pace, who doesn't. But yep. Let's go to his teammate, however, Mr. Liam Lawson. Qualified P20, started from pit lane, finished in P12. It's a 3 out of 10 for Liam Lawson. The worst driver on the grid so far. Worst informed driver, I suppose. God, just where to start. Just can't get any qualifying position any qualifying session he's done. In all 3 of them, he's qualified last by a severe amount, to be fair. Off the pace, just does not look comfortable in the car. Can't find the right setup. Just can't. Seems like he's stuck almost. And there's talk about him obviously moving to back to V-carb, while Tsunoda will get the seat, which will be interesting to see. However, it just seems that he is very, very, very stuck, very uncomfortable, and he does need to get a move on ASAP because he is a good driver. I mean, I said this before in my race review for I think both Grand Prix and my driver ratings for Australia. Yeah, it just seems really, 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 really bleak. His future in F1 is at stake here. God, I would not want to be in his shoes for sure. Ferrari now. Charles Leclerc qualified a P6 and got disqualified. We might as well, Leclerc got. Unfortunate race, he was to finish P5, I believe. So, I mean, he made one position up whilst his teammate went one position down. Yeah, 7 out of 10 for Charles Leclerc. Wasn't there or thereabouts on his teammate. Just, really mediocre weekend. Didn't seem to extract as much out of the car than his teammate did. I think Lewis managed to do better this weekend. But yeah, that car seems, unfortunately, not on the level we expected it to be. I thought personally going into this season it was going to be on the level of McLaren. But it seems that it is not. It seems that it is far away from that. Not that far away, but there's a lot of work to do there, and I'm sure the disqualification would have fired people up more because the disqualification is really unfair. Not unfair, but just unfortunate. That's the right word to put it. Yeah, it happens. You can't change it. It is what it is. You only have to really just focus on Japan and the next weekends after that because they do come thick and fast. But yeah, not the best Sunday for Ferrari. Let's go to his teammate now. Lewis Hamilton qualified P6, finished with a disqualification. Well, he would have finished P6. Qualified P5 and then finished P6. Yeah, I mean, without the disqualification, I still think it would have been an 8 out of 10 weekend. The reason why I'm putting him higher than Charles Leclerc is because of that Saturday and that Friday, the sprint qualifying and sprint race. I mean, it was exceptional. Converted the pole to win. He didn't put a foot wrong. He managed to extract the most out of the car in the second race. Yeah, if it was just that, then I would have given him a 10 out of 10. However, qualifying came around on a Saturday afternoon, and I just seen Ferrari manage to lose all sorts of pace, which is unfortunate, but that is the way the cookie crumbles. And the disqualification kind of wrapped up probably a really poor Sunday. They're the team that they weren't quick enough this weekend to fight Mercedes, the top four of Mercedes, Red Bull, Russell's Mercedes, Verstappen's Red Bull, and the two McLarens, but they were still quick enough to be miles ahead of, I think it was like Antonelli or Behrman or Ocon behind. So they're kind of in no man's land a little bit on Sunday. I hope it was just maybe an error or something. But yeah, I mean, it's not ideal, as I said. You're losing on, I think, what would it be? They lost 18 points this weekend, which is still 18 points, which could be, the make or break for the championship, which looks ever so tighter. Let's go on to the final two of the day. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. Lando Norris, let's start with Lando Norris. Qualified P3, finished P2. I'm going to have to give him an 8 out of 10 for that. Solid performance. He did what a championship contender needs to do and just take the P2. Still on top of anyone else in the driver standings by about 8 or so points. Still looks favourite to win. He was managing a problem at the end of his race. So you have to look at it and be like, he's done the best that he can. Sprint race was quite poor, though. However, I mean, it really does make you think that maybe that clean air out front does help in some sort of way, because Piastri just took him around with it. But he was close to being overtaken by Russell, unfortunately, at the end. Well, not unfortunately, but I'm just saying it. He was close, but Yeah, I mean, it's come to a point now in his career where you can take a P2 and be happy with it, considering a title fight, you need to make sure that you take your wins. Sometimes it's not all about the win. Sometimes that P2, just being consistent on the podium, gets you it. Like, for example, look at 2024 last year. You look at Verstappen, he didn't win anything until Brazil, and that was from Canada. But he was always there or thereabouts come the podium on a Sunday afternoon, which Lando, I think, is understood, and I think he is definitely taken on board for sure. And the final driver of the day, driver we're going to talk about today, is Mr. Oscar Piastri, who's converted his first pole to win in Formula One. Great drive. Couldn't do what he couldn't put anything wrong. Couldn't put a foot wrong. He did what he, I think, wanted to do probably out in Australia, which was to win and win with a statement in mind. We talked about this in the race review, but yeah, I mean, top drive. Managed to start well, managed everything well, and I mean, it has to be a 9 out of 10. He could not have done anything else to do. He's managed to mount a championship fight, I suppose. And yeah, I mean, great drive. Couldn't have done anything more. I think that's a good-ish place to wrap up. Make sure to like and subscribe and have a simply lovely day. Goodbye.